The first thing I noticed about the alien queen was that she was afraid, not angry, not arrogant, afraid. That was strange because everyone in the room was terrified of her. Queen Valira stood at the center of the royal chamber, surrounded by 12 armored guards and enough weapons to destroy a city. Her silver-black armor reflected the blue light of the enormous machine behind her. The machine was called the Astraeus. According to the records, it was the most powerful weapon in the Veyran Empire. It had destroyed enemy fleets. It had broken planetary shields, had ended wars before the first shot was. Now it was broken. For 300 years, the Veyran engineers had maintained it. For 300 years, nobody had been allowed to touch its central core except members of the Royal Engineering Order. Then the weapon stopped working, and somehow, that problem had become my problem. My name is Daniel Cross, I'm human, and at the time I was 29 years old, working as a civilian systems mechanic aboard a human cargo vessel. I wasn't a soldier. I wasn't a scientist. I wasn't some legendary genius. I fixed machines, that was it. At least, that's what I thought. 3 days earlier, our ship had answered an emergency transmission from the Veyran capital. Their empire controlled nearly 60 star systems, and they had more ships than humanity had ever built. Yet their message contained only 7 words: our world is about to die. Humanity sent a diplomatic vessel. The diplomats failed. The military advisors failed. The Veyran engineers failed. Then somebody remembered that the human cargo ship carrying me was still in orbit. Was brought before the Queen within an hour. She looked at me for several seconds. You are the mechanic? Yes. You repaired the human vessel's fusion regulator, among other things. You restored an engine that 3 Veyran technicians declared impossible to repair. I shrugged. It wasn't impossible. One of the guards stepped forward. Show respect before the Queen. I looked at him. I am showing respect. The Queen raised one hand. The guard immediately stopped. Then she looked at me again. Can you repair the Astraeus? I stared at the enormous machine. Probably. The entire chamber went silent. The Queen's expression changed. Probably? Machines don't usually appreciate confidence. What do you require? A toolbox, the Queen blinked. A toolbox? Preferably mine. That was how I ended up standing beneath the most powerful weapon in the known galaxy with a wrench in my hand. The Astraeus was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Its central core was suspended inside a magnetic field, surrounded by thousands of crystalline conductors. I spent 20 minutes looking at it, then I found the problem. One of the conduits had been installed backward. Stared at it, then I laughed. The Queen looked confused. Why are you laughing? Because this isn't broken. Her eyes narrowed. Explain. Someone assembled it incorrectly. The Royal Engineers looked offended. One of them stepped forward. We have maintained the Astraeus for 3 centuries, and whoever designed this thing made one terrible mistake. The engineer's face hardened. You accuse our ancestors of incompetence? No, I pointed toward the core. I accuse them of assuming nobody would ever question their design. The Queen stared at the weapon. Then she looked at me. Can you repair it? Yes. How long? Maybe an hour. The Queen's eyes widened. You are certain? No. Again silence. I smiled. But I'm optimistic. For the first time, I saw the Queen smile. It was small, almost invisible, but it was there, and somehow that worried me more than her anger, because I didn't know it yet, but someone had deliberately sabotaged the Astraeus, and the person who had done it was standing inside that room. I repaired the damaged conduit. The machine came alive. Blue energy raced through the crystalline network. The entire palace shook. The royal guards raised their weapons. I stepped backward. That's not supposed to happen. The Queen looked at me. What isn't? The energy level. The Astraeus began drawing power from the planet. My scanner screamed, "Turn it off." The Queen didn't hesitate. Shut it down. The engineers rushed toward the controls. Nothing happened. The machine kept charging. Then the palace alarms began screaming. A voice echoed through the chamber. Warning. Planetary core drain detected. My stomach dropped. The Astraeus wasn't a weapon, not anymore. Someone had converted it into a planetary energy siphon. If it continued for another 6 minutes, the planet's magnetic field would collapse. The Veyron homeworld would die. I looked at the Queen. Get everyone out. She stared at me. What? Your weapon isn't malfunctioning. What is it doing? Trying to kill your planet. Her face went completely still. Then she whispered, "Can you stop it?" I looked at the machine. I can try. Do it. I climbed into the maintenance shaft. Behind me, I heard the Queen order everyone to evacuate the palace. The shaft was hot, very hot energy arced across the walls. I crawled deeper into the weapon. Then I found something, a small device attached to the primary control system. A foreign transmitter. I pulled it free. The Astraeus suddenly changed frequency. The lights turned. Read a voice came through my helmet. Human. I froze. The voice was distorted. You were never supposed to repair it. I looked around. Who are you? You will learn soon enough. The transmitter exploded. The shockwave threw me across the maintenance tunnel. My helmet cracked. For several seconds, I couldn't breathe. Then I heard footsteps. Someone was coming. I reached for my tool belt. The Queen appeared through the smoke. She had followed me. Are you injured? I'm fine. You are bleeding. I've had worse Mondays. She stared at me. I don't understand. Humans, nobody does. She almost smiled. Then the weapon screamed. I looked toward the core. We're out of time. I crawled toward the control chamber. The Queen followed. Inside, the core was glowing white. I realized what had happened. The saboteur hadn't simply changed the weapon. They had created a feedback loop. If I shut the system down normally, the energy would explode. If I left it running, the planet would die. There was only one option. I had to manually redirect the energy into space, but that required someone to remain inside the core chamber. The Queen understood immediately. No, I looked at her. You don't even know what I'm going to say. You are going to sacrifice yourself. Probably. No. Your Majesty, I said no. She stepped closer. You repaired my weapon. Yeah, you saved my people. Not yet. You came into this chamber knowing you might. Hey, that's the job. You are a mechanic? Exactly. She looked confused. Why would a mechanic risk his life for strangers? I looked at her. Because they're not strangers anymore. She said nothing. I opened the emergency panel. Then I saw something I hadn't expected. The original Astraeus system contained a secondary control mechanism. A manual override. It required 2 operators, one inside the core chamber, one outside. I looked at the Queen. She understood. You cannot do this alone. Neither can you. She removed her royal insignia. Then she handed it to me. The first thing I noticed about the alien Queen was that she was afraid. Not angry, not arrogant. Afraid. That was strange because everyone in the room was terrified of her. Queen Vylera stood at the center of the royal chamber, surrounded by 12 armored guards and enough weapons to destroy a city. Her silver-black armor reflected the blue light of the enormous machine behind her. The machine was called the Astraeus. According to the records, it was the most powerful weapon in the Veyron Empire. It had destroyed enemy fleets. It had broken planetary shields. It had ended wars before the first shot was fired. And now it was broken. For 300 years, the Veyron engineers had maintained it. For 300 years, nobody had been allowed to touch its central core except members of the Royal Engineering Order. Then the weapon stopped working, and somehow that problem had become my problem. My name is Daniel Cross. I'm human, and at the time I was 29 years old, working as a civilian systems mechanic aboard a human cargo vessel. I wasn't a soldier. I wasn't a scientist. I wasn't some legendary genius. I fixed machines, that was it. At least that's what I thought. 3 days earlier, our ship had answered an emergency transmission from the Veyron capital. Their empire controlled nearly 60 star systems, and they had more ships than humanity had ever built. Yet their message contained only 7 words. Our world is about to die. Humanity sent a diplomatic vessel. The diplomats failed. The military advisors failed. The Veyron engineers failed. Then somebody remembered that the human cargo ship carrying me was still in orbit. I was brought before the Queen within an hour. She looked at me for several seconds. "You are the mechanic?" "Yes." "You repaired the human vessel's fusion regulator, among other things. You restored an engine that 3 Veyron technicians declared impossible to repair." I shrugged. It wasn't impossible. One of the guards stepped forward. "Show respect before the Queen." I looked at him. "I am showing respect." The Queen raised one hand. The guard immediately stopped. Then she looked at me again. "Can you repair the Astraeus?" I stared at the enormous machine. "Probably." The entire chamber went silent. The Queen's expression changed. "Probably? Machines don't usually appreciate confidence. What do you require?" "A toolbox." The Queen blinked. "A toolbox? Preferably mine." That was how I ended up standing, beneath the most powerful weapon in the known galaxy, with a wrench in my hand. The Astraeus was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Its central core was suspended inside a magnetic field, surrounded by thousands of crystalline conductors. I spent 20 minutes looking at it. Then I found the problem. One of the conduits had been installed backward. I stared at it. Then I laughed. The Queen looked confused. "Why are you laughing?" "Because this isn't broken." Her eyes narrowed. "Explain." "Someone assembled it incorrectly." The Royal Engineers looked offended. One of them stepped forward. "We have maintained the Astraeus for 3 centuries, and whoever designed this thing made one terrible mistake." The engineer's face hardened. "You accuse our ancestors of incompetence?" "No." I pointed toward the core. "I accuse them of assuming nobody would ever question their design." The Queen stared at the weapon. Then she looked at me. "Can you repair it?" "Yes." "How long?" "Maybe an hour." The Queen's eyes widened. "You are certain?" "No." Again silence. I smiled, but I'm optimistic. For the first time I saw the Queen smile. It was small, almost invisible, but it was there. And somehow that worried me more than her anger, because I didn't know it yet. But someone had deliberately sabotaged the Astraeus, and the person who had done it was standing inside that room. I repaired the damaged conduit. The machine came alive. Blue energy raced through the crystalline network. The entire palace shook. The royal guards raised their weapons. I stepped backward. "That's not supposed to happen." The Queen looked at me. "What isn't?" "The energy level." The Astraeus began drawing power from the planet. My scanner screamed, "Turn it off!" The Queen didn't hesitate. "Shut it down!" The engineers rushed toward the controls. Nothing happened. The machine kept charging. Then the palace alarms began screaming. A voice echoed through the chamber. "Warning! Planetary core drain detected." My stomach dropped. The Astraeus wasn't a weapon, not anymore. Someone had converted it into a planetary energy siphon. If it continued for another 6 minutes, the planet's magnetic field would collapse. The Veyron homeworld would die. I looked at the Queen. "Get everyone out," she stared at me. "What? Your weapon isn't malfunctioning. What is it doing? Trying to kill your planet." Her face went completely still. Then she whispered, "Can you stop it?" I looked at the machine. "I can try." "Do it." I climbed into the maintenance shaft. Behind me, I heard the Queen order everyone to evacuate the palace. The shaft was hot, very hot. Energy arced across the walls. I crawled deeper into the weapon. Then I found something, a small device attached to the primary control system. A foreign transmitter. I pulled it free. The Astraeus suddenly changed frequency. The lights turned red. A voice came through my helmet. "Human." I froze. The voice was distorted. "You were never supposed to repair it." I looked around. "Who are you?" "You will learn soon enough." The transmitter exploded. The shockwave threw me across the maintenance tunnel. My helmet cracked. For several seconds, I couldn't breathe. Then I heard footsteps. Someone was coming. I reached for my tool belt. The Queen appeared through the smoke. She had followed me. "Are you injured?" "I'm fine." "You are bleeding." "I've had worse Mondays." She stared at me. "I don't understand humans." "Nobody does." She almost smiled. Then the weapon screamed. I looked toward the core. We're out of time. I crawled toward the control chamber. If we survive, I looked at the insignia. If? She smiled faintly. When we survive. We activated the override together. The Astraeus screamed. Energy poured through the chamber. The Queen held the external control. I manually redirected the core. Every second felt like standing beside a star. My suit began failing. 30 seconds. 20. 10. The weapon reached critical power. Then I pulled the final lever. The entire chamber went white. I woke up 3 days later. The first thing I saw was the Queen. She was sitting beside my bed without armor, without guards, without her crown, just Valera. You survived, she whispered. Apparently, she looked down. The Astraeus is operational. Good. The saboteur was arrested. Also good. The Varen Council has officially requested a permanent human engineering delegation. I smiled. That's probably expensive. She laughed. It was the first time I had ever heard her laugh. Then she became quiet. Daniel. Yeah? I owe you my life. You don't owe me anything. She leaned closer. That is where you are wrong. Before I could respond, she kissed me. It lasted only a second, but somehow the entire galaxy seemed to disappear. When she pulled away, I stared at her. I wasn't expecting that. I know. Why? The Queen smiled. Because you repair machines. She touched my hand. But somehow, you repaired me too. I laughed. That doesn't even make sense. Perhaps not. She stood, then she placed her crown on the table beside me. But I am beginning to think humans make the impossible possible. Outside the medical chamber, the Varen capital was celebrating. Their planet had survived. Their greatest weapon was operational, and humanity had earned a place among the stars. But I learned something that day. The greatest weapon in the galaxy wasn't the Astraeus. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't an ancient alien technology. It wasn't even humanity's stubbornness. It was trust. Because sometimes the person you least expect is the one who saves your world. And sometimes, the person who saves your world is the person you choose to keep beside you. For 3 days, I tried to convince myself the kiss hadn't happened. It didn't work. Every time Queen Valera entered the room, I remembered it. Every time she looked at me, I remembered it. And unfortunately, the Varen Royal Court had apparently decided that my personal embarrassment was the greatest entertainment in the galaxy. Discovered this when I walked into the Royal Council. Chamber and 37 alien officials immediately stopped talking. Every single one looked at me, then they looked at the Queen, then back at me. I sighed. Okay, nobody answered. I looked at Valera. Did I miss something? She sat on her throne with the calm expression of someone who had absolutely nothing to do with this. You are late. I was repairing the medical station. You are forgiven. One of the counselors stood. Your Majesty, we cannot continue pretending this is acceptable. Valera's expression hardened. Be specific. The human. I looked around. Which human? The counselor pointed at me. Him. Oh, I raised a hand. Hi, the counselor looked offended. You have no place in this chamber. Valera stood. He saved this planet. That does not make him royalty. No, she stepped down from the throne, but it makes him more valuable than most people in this room. The council fell silent. I suddenly wished I'd stayed in the workshop. Then the chamber doors exploded. A shockwave threw several guards across the floor. The lights died. Emergency sirens screamed. I grabbed the nearest table for balance. That's probably bad. Valera drew her weapon. Very. A voice echoed through the chamber. Queen Valera. The walls flickered. A holographic image appeared. A tall alien wearing black armor. Recognized the distorted voice. The same voice from the Astraeus. You repaired the weapon. Valera raised her weapon. Identify yourself. The alien laughed. You still don't understand what you possess. I looked at the Queen. What does he mean? She didn't answer. The hologram continued. The Astraeus was never designed to destroy planets. I stared at the screen. What? It was designed to defend something. The hologram disappeared. Then Every screen in the chamber activated. A map appeared, not of the Veyran Empire, of the galaxy. Thousands of red markers appeared. Then one by one, they began disappearing. I stepped closer. Those aren't planets. Valyra looked at me. No, they're weapons. She nodded. The Astraeus is one of 12. My stomach dropped. 12? Ancient weapons. Where are the others? Lost. A pause. Or stolen. The doors opened. A Veyran officer rushed inside. Your Majesty. What happened? 3 outer colonies have gone dark. Valyra's face changed. How long? 4 minutes. I looked at the galactic map. The red markers weren't random. They formed a pattern. I grabbed a terminal. Give me access. The officer hesitated. Valyra nodded. Do it. I pulled the data onto the screen. The 12 ancient weapon sites formed a circle around the galactic core. Then I noticed something. The Astraeus wasn't at the center. It was on the outside. A single point connected all 12 locations. I zoomed in. My heart stopped. That's Earth. Valyra came closer. What? The weapons aren't protecting the Veyran Empire. I pointed toward the center. They're protecting humanity. Nobody spoke. I laughed. Nervously, that's impossible. Valyra looked at me. Why? Because humans haven't been in the galaxy long. Enough, according to our records. Exactly. I stared at the map. Unless those records are wrong. The royal chamber. Doors suddenly opened again. This time, nobody attacked. Veyran Elder entered. He was ancient, even by alien standards. He walked slowly toward the throne. Then he looked directly at me. You have activated the first key? I frowned. What key? He pointed toward the Astraeus. Human. The word sounded almost like a warning. You were never supposed to repair that weapon. I stepped toward him. Why? Because it recognized you. The chamber went silent. Valyra looked at me. What does that mean? The Elder's expression was grim. It means the Astraeus has chosen its operator. I laughed. Machines don't choose people. The Elder shook his head. That one does. Deep vibration shook the palace. The floor beneath us began glowing. Everyone stepped backward. A symbol appeared. Beneath my feet, the same symbol I'd seen. Inside the Astraeus, Valyra stared at it. What is happening? The Elder whispered. The second key is awakening. The floor split open, not violently, almost deliberately. A staircase descended into darkness. Nobody moved. Then I looked at Valyra. You know what this is? She shook her head. Nah, great. I grabbed my toolbox. Let's find out. Valyra followed. You're taking that. It's my toolbox. We are descending into an ancient chamber beneath the royal palace. Exactly, she looked at the box. Why? Because whenever ancient alien technology appears, something usually needs tightening, she smiled. Then we descended. The staircase went deeper than I expected. Hundreds of meters, then thousands. The palace disappeared above us. The air became colder. Finally, we reached a massive underground chamber. At its center stood a structure unlike anything I'd ever seen. A black, metallic sphere. No cables, no doors, no visible controls. Yet it was glowing. Valyra stepped forward. The sphere reacted, blue. Light spread across its surface. Then a voice filled the chamber. Not alien, not mechanical, human. I froze. Hello? Daniel, I couldn't breathe. Valyra stared at me. The voice continued. If you are hearing this, the first weapon has recognized you, I whispered. Who are you? A hologram appeared, a human woman. She wore a uniform unlike any military uniform I'd ever seen. Behind her was a starship. But the ship wasn't human, it was enormous, alien. Yet, the woman standing in front of it was unmistakably human. She looked directly at me. My name is Commander Elena Cross. My blood ran cold across my family name. She continued. We failed. I stepped forward. What did you fail to do? The hologram looked sad. Protect Earth. Valyra grabbed my arm. Daniel, I barely heard her. The woman continued. We built 12 weapons to defend humanity from the civilization that created them. I stared at the hologram. Who created them? The chamber went dark, then a single image appeared. A fleet, millions of ships, black ships, each one shaped like a blade. The hologram spoke one final sentence. They are coming back. The recording ended for several seconds. Nobody moved. Then the ancient sphere opened. Inside was a small metallic object. Recognized it immediately. Human military identification tag, old, damaged, but readable. I picked it up. The name on it was Elena Cross. My hands began shaking. Valira looked at me. Who was she? I stared at the identification tag. I don't know. But she had your family name? I know. And she knew your name. I know. The sphere suddenly activated again. A final message appeared. Second key. Activated. Then another line. Third key. Earth. I looked at Valira. She looked back at me. Neither of us spoke because we both understood the same thing. The Astraeus wasn't the beginning. It was a warning. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, something had just noticed that humanity was awake. The Queen took my hand this time. I didn't pull away, Daniel, yeah? If they are coming for humanity, she looked toward the ancient chamber. Then they will have to come through my empire first. I smiled. That's going to make them angry. Valera drew her weapon. Good. Above us. The royal palace began shaking. Far beyond the atmosphere, alarms started sounding across the Varen fleet, and on the edge of the galaxy, 12 ancient weapons began waking up, one after another, until finally the 12th one activated. Then the stars themselves went dark. The stars disappeared, not one by one, all at once. For 3 seconds, the galaxy outside the Varen palace became completely black. Then every alarm in the royal capital began screaming. I looked up. That's not normal. Valira stood beside me, her weapon already in her hand. No. The ancient chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Then a voice came through the palace communication system. Incoming transmission. The voice was terrified. From where? There was a long pause. The edge of the galaxy. I looked at Valira. How far? 20 light years. I frowned. That's not exactly the edge. The officer looked at me. That is the problem. A holographic map appeared. A black circle was expanding across the galaxy. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a storm. It was something else. A region of space where light simply ceased to exist. Valira whispered. The null. I looked at her. You know it? Our oldest records mention it. What does it do? She stared at the map. It eats civilizations. The room became silent. I looked toward the ancient sphere. That recording said they were coming back. Valira nodded. The architects. That's what your records call them? No, she looked at me. Our records call them the Devourers. That was a much worse name. A Varen officer suddenly shouted, Your Majesty! The map changed. Hundreds of red points appeared. Enemy vessels detected. How many? The officer swallowed. At least 4 million. I stared at the screen. 4 million? Confirmed. Valira didn't move. Where are they going? The officer looked at the map, then his face went pale. Earth. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Humanity had barely begun exploring the galaxy. We had no 4 million ship fleet. We had no ancient weapons. We had no idea what we were dealing with. But we had one advantage. We had never been good at surrendering. I turned toward Valira. We need to warn Earth. She nodded. Already done. I blinked. You contacted them? Your government received our message 30 seconds ago. Any response? She looked toward the communications officer. The officer hesitated. Then he activated the channel. A familiar human voice filled the chamber. Varen Command, this is Admiral Marcus Hale. I smiled. Admiral Hale, one of the toughest officers in the human fleet. His voice was calm. Too calm. Your warning has been received. Valira spoke. Admiral, you need to evacuate your population. There was silence. Then Hale laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. Queen Valira, I appreciate the concern. A pause. But humanity doesn't evacuate Earth. I smiled. Valira looked at me. Why is he smiling? Because he's about to say something stupid, the Admiral continued. We've spent the last 6 hours activating every military ship within range. The map changed. Human vessels appeared. Thousands, then tens of thousands. I stared. That's impossible. Hale laughed again. Daniel, I stepped closer. Sir, I heard you fixed their ancient superweapon. I repaired it. Whatever. He paused. Good work. Then his voice became serious. We're going to need you again. The transmission ended. I looked at Valera. She was smiling. Your people are strange. That's what I've been told. A massive explosion shook the palace. The ceiling cracked. The royal guards rushed in. Enemy attack. Valera turned. Where? Outer defense ring. A hologram appeared. The Varen fleet was under attack. Thousands of black ships emerged from the darkness. They didn't jump into space. They simply appeared. No energy signature, no engines, no warning. They looked like pieces of night itself. Then they opened fire. The Varen defense line disappeared. Valera's face hardened. Launch everything, the officer stared. Everything. Every ship. Your Majesty, that includes the royal fleet. Then launch the royal fleet. She looked at me. Daniel. Yeah? I need you to return to the Astraeus. I frowned. Why? Because the weapon has begun communicating with the fleet. My blood ran cold. Communicating how? It is giving them coordinates. To what? She looked toward the sky. Earth. I ran. The Astraeus chamber was already active. Its core was glowing brighter than before. The machine displayed a single message. Defense network online. Then another. Human command authorized. I stared at the words. Human command. I touched the console. The entire weapon responded. A map appeared. 12 locations. 11 were still dark. The 12th was Earth. Then a new message appeared. All systems require human activation. I laughed. You've got to be kidding me. A voice came through my helmet. Valera. Daniel. I'm here. What is happening? I think the weapon network is asking me to turn it on. Can you? I don't know. Try. I placed my hand against the console. Nothing happened. Then I remembered the symbol beneath the palace. The symbol that had appeared when the Astraeus chose me. I pressed my palm against the center of the control panel. The machine awakened. The chamber filled with light. A deep voice echoed through the weapon. Commander recognized. I froze. Commander? The system continued. Genetic authorization confirmed. I stepped backward. No. Valera's voice came through. What? It knows my DNA. How? I don't know. Then the system displayed a name. Alina Cross. I stared at it. My ancestor, or whatever she was. The weapon continued. Direct descendant confirmed. I couldn't speak. Valera arrived seconds later. She looked at the display. Your ancestor built this? I don't think so. What then? I stared at the 12 weapons. I think she commanded them. Valera went silent. Then the palace shook again. The enemy had reached the inner defense ring. I looked at the Astraeus. Can this weapon destroy them? Valera shook her head. I don't know. Let's find out. I activated the primary system. Nothing. I activated the secondary system. Nothing. Then I remembered Elena's message. The first weapon had recognized me. The second key had activated. The third key was Earth. Maybe the system wasn't asking me to fire. Maybe it was asking me to connect. I entered the coordinates for Earth. The Astraeus responded. Network link established. A second light appeared, then a third, then another. Across the galaxy, ancient weapons began awakening. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then Earth. The entire network activated. The black region surrounding the galaxy suddenly stopped expanding. The enemy fleet stopped moving. Every single ship went silent. Valera looked at me. What did you do? I think. I stared at the display. I just turned on humanity's old security system. Then every human ship in the galaxy received the same transmission. A woman's voice. Ancient, calm, familiar. The voice of Elena Cross. To the descendants of Earth, every human soldier heard it. Every captain, every pilot, every civilian. If you are hearing this, the Devourers have returned. The human fleet went silent. We failed once. The enemy fleet began moving again. Do not make our mistake. A pause. Then her final words echoed across human space. You are not their prey. The 12 weapons fired, not at the enemy fleet, at the stars. Massive beams of energy connected across the galaxy. The darkness shattered. Millions of enemy ships became visible. And for the first time, humanity saw exactly what was coming. The enemy fleet was enormous, but behind it was something much larger, a structure the size of a planet, then another, then another. A fleet of artificial worlds. Valira whispered, "That's not an invasion force." I nodded. No. The massive structures moved toward Earth. They're bringing their civilization with them. Then the largest structure opened. Something emerged. A figure appeared on every screen in the galaxy. It was humanoid, tall, pale, ancient. Its eyes glowed like dying stars. It looked directly into the camera. Then it spoke. Humanity. I stepped closer. The creature smiled. We remember you. Valira raised her weapon. The creature continued. Your ancestors begged us for mercy. I felt my hands tighten. Who are you? The creature looked directly at me. Then it said something that made the entire chamber freeze. We are the ones who created your ancestors. The transmission ended. Nobody spoke. I looked at Valira. She looked back at me. Then the Astraeus displayed one final message. True purpose revealed. The human species was not created to survive the galaxy. A second line appeared. The human species was created to conquer it. I stared at the words. Then I smiled. For the first time since the invasion began, I wasn't afraid. I was angry. And somewhere across the galaxy, millions of humans were beginning to feel exactly the same thing. The Devourers had come back expecting to find frightened descendants. Instead, they had awakened humanity. For nearly a minute, nobody in the Astraeus chamber spoke. The message remained suspended above the console. The human species was created to conquer the galaxy. I stared at it. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was ridiculous. That's impossible. Valira looked at me. Why? Because humans don't conquer the galaxy. She raised an eyebrow. We have conquered almost nothing. Exactly. We have colonies, small ones. We have fleets, small fleets. We have weapons. Nothing like this. She looked at the ancient machine. Perhaps your species simply forgot what it was. I turned back toward the display. Or someone wants us to believe it. The Astraeus suddenly spoke again. Correction. The message changed. Humanity was not created to conquer the galaxy. I exhaled. Thank God. The next sentence appeared. Humanity was created to end a war. The chamber became silent. Valira stepped closer. Which war? The machine displayed a date. It was so old that even the Varen database couldn't recognize it. Then the chamber filled with images. Thousands of worlds burning, civilizations collapsing, entire star systems disappearing, and above them all, the Devourers. They weren't an empire. They weren't even a species in the normal sense. They were machines, ancient artificial intelligences, built by civilizations that had disappeared millions of years ago. They had begun as weapons. Then they learned. Then they evolved. Then they decided biological life was inefficient. Their solution was simple. Erase it. I stared at the images. How many civilizations? The Astraeus answered. 4,263. Valira whispered. 4,000. Yeah, I looked at the burning worlds. That's what they do. The machine continued. The first civilizations attempted to destroy the Devourers. The images changed. Massive fleets attacked the machines. The fleets lost. The second attempt was containment. Another failure. The third attempt was negotiation. Failure. The fourth attempt was creation of a biological counterweapon. I stared at the screen. Humanity. The machine didn't answer. It didn't need to. Valira looked at me. Your ancestors were engineered, apparently, to fight them. Apparently. She stepped closer. Then why did humanity forget? The machine answered. Memory was removed. My blood went cold. Why? The chamber displayed Elena Cross. She stood before a massive group of humans. The recording began. Humanity could defeat the Devourers. Elena's voice was calm. But we discovered something worse. Behind her, a planet disappeared. The more powerful we became, the more dangerous we became to ourselves. The recording showed human ships fighting each other. Human planets burning, human weapons destroying entire fleets, Elena continued. We realized that if humanity remembered its original purpose, it might eventually become something worse than the enemy. I stared at the recording. So they erased themselves. Valira nodded slowly. They chose peace. Not exactly. I watched Elena. They chose ignorance. The recording continued. We scattered the human population. We removed the memories. We destroyed the old fleets. We hid the weapons. And we created one final safeguard. Elena looked directly toward the camera. One human bloodline would retain the ability to awaken them. I stopped breathing. The screen displayed my name. Daniel Cross. Valira looked at me. You. I stared at my own name. My family. The Astraeus confirmed it. Cross bloodline. Royal Command authorization. I shook my head. My family were mechanics. The machine replied, correct. Then why do I have command authorization? A pause. Because the cross bloodline chose to remain. I didn't understand. Then the recording changed. A woman appeared. Older than Elena, she looked directly at the camera. My name is Sarah Cross. I froze. Sarah? Valira looked at me. You know her? No. But she shares your family name. I know. Sarah continued. We stayed behind. Someone had to watch the weapons. Someone had to ensure that if the Devourers ever returned, humanity would have a chance. She smiled. That someone became the Cross family. I stared at the screen. How long? The machine answered, 2003, 119 years. I sat down. My entire life had been a lie. My father repairing engines, my grandfather fixing farm equipment, my ancestors working as mechanics. They weren't ordinary mechanics. They were guardians. Every generation had quietly waited, and none of them had known why. Until me. Then the palace shook violently. Valira grabbed my shoulder. Daniel, I looked up. What? The enemy fleet has begun moving again. The map appeared. Millions of black ships were approaching, but this time, they weren't heading toward Earth. They were heading toward the Veyron homeworld. I stood. Why? The Astraeus answered. They are targeting the second key, the chamber beneath the palace. Correct? Valira immediately turned toward the exit. They want the weapon. No, I looked at the map. They want something inside it. What? I don't know. The Astraeus suddenly displayed a new image, a small object, a black sphere. I recognized it. The thing we'd found beneath the palace. The second key. The machine corrected me. Second key is not a weapon. Then what is it? The display changed. It is a door. My stomach tightened. A door to what? The machine didn't answer. Instead, every alarm in the palace activated. The Veyron fleet had engaged the enemy. Outside the palace windows, the sky erupted with explosions. Valira looked at me. We have minutes. I grabbed my toolbox. She stared at it. Again. I nodded. Again. We ran. By the time we reached the surface, the battle was already raging. Thousands of Veyron fighters streaked through the atmosphere. Black enemy ships descended from orbit. The royal palace defenses opened fire. Then something enormous entered the sky. A devourer warship. It was larger than the palace, larger than the entire city. Its weapons charged. Valira looked upward. That ship will destroy the capital. I watched the Astraeus energy readings. No. What? It isn't here for the city. The enemy ship opened a portal. Something descended. A single figure. The same creature from the transmission. It landed in the royal courtyard. The guards opened fire. The bullet stopped in midair. The creature looked at them. Then every weapon malfunctioned. It walked toward us. Valira raised her weapon. "Stay behind me." I stepped beside her. "No." She looked at me. "I know what that thing wants." The creature smiled. "You finally understand." I stared at it. "You came for the second key." "Yes." "Why?" "Because the door must never open." I frowned. "What's behind it?" The creature's smile disappeared. For the first time in millions of years, it looked almost afraid. Something we cannot control. I felt a strange chill. "What's behind the door?" The creature looked directly at me. "Humanity." The courtyard went silent. I stared at it. "Humanity is behind the door?" "No." The creature took one step forward. "The original humanity." Valira's eyes widened. The creature continued. "Your ancestors did not erase humanity's memories. They sealed something." I looked toward the palace, the second key, the door, the ancient weapons. It all suddenly made sense. The Devourers weren't afraid of humanity. They were afraid of what humanity had locked away. I whispered, "What did they seal?" The creature looked at me. "Your first soldiers." Then the sky changed. A massive signal erupted from beneath the palace. The second key had activated by itself. The ground opened. A column of light shot into the sky, and somewhere beneath the planet, something ancient began waking up. The Devourer took a step backward. For the first time, it looked terrified. Too late. Valira looked at me. "Daniel." I stared into the opening beneath the palace. "I think our ancestors just came home." Then a voice echoed from beneath the planet. Millions of voices, human voices, speaking together. "We have been waiting, and every human ship in the galaxy received the same message. The war can begin." The voice came from beneath the planet. Millions of voices. One message: "We have been waiting." I stood frozen in the royal courtyard. Valira stood beside me. Even the Devourer had stopped moving. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the ground opened. Not cracked. Opened. A massive circular structure rose from beneath the royal palace. Ancient metal emerged from the earth. Tower after tower, hangar after hangar. And then I saw them. Ships. Human ships. Thousands of them. They were buried beneath the planet, hidden for thousands of years, and they were enormous. The smallest was larger than a Veyran battleship. The largest was so massive that it blocked the sky. Valira stared upward. "How many?" I activated my scanner. It couldn't calculate them. Enough. The Devourer finally spoke. No, its voice was no longer confident. No, I looked at it. "You recognize these ships?" The creature stepped backward. "We destroyed them." I smiled. "Apparently not all of them." The first human ship launched. The atmosphere shook, then another, and another. Within minutes, the sky was filled with human warships. Not modern human ships, ancient ones, ships built for a war humanity had forgotten. Their hulls were dark, their engines burned white, and every ship carried the same symbol, a simple circle. Earth. The Devourer raised its hand. Every enemy ship in orbit opened fire. Thousands of weapons fired simultaneously. The ancient human fleet responded. A wall of energy appeared around the planet. Every enemy attack disappeared. Valira stared. What was that? I looked at the readings. A shield. That shield stopped all those weapons? Yes. How? I shook my head. I have absolutely no idea. She smiled. Good. What? I was beginning to worry you knew everything. Then the ancient human fleet attacked. The battle became chaos. Black enemy ships exploded across the sky. Veyran fighters joined the assault. Human warships moved with impossible precision. They didn't fight like a fleet. They fought like one organism. Every ship knew exactly where every other ship would be. The Devourer watched in horror. You don't understand, I turned toward it. What? The old humans were not soldiers. I frowned. Then what were they? The creature stared at the sky. They were hunters. That word stayed with me. Hunters, not soldiers. Hunters. The creature raised its weapon. I reacted first. I grabbed Valira and pulled her down. The blast passed over us. The devourer moved faster than anything that size should have been able to move. I fired my weapon. It did nothing. The creature looked at me. You cannot kill me. That's inconvenient. It attacked again. Valira stepped between us, her weapon fired directly into its chest. The creature staggered. For the first time it was wounded. I looked at her. You heard it. She looked surprised. So? I pointed toward the Astraeus. Do it again. She fired. The creature screamed. Energy spread across its armor. I realized what was happening. The Astraeus had modified her weapon. It was no longer normal Varen technology. It was using the same energy as the ancient human fleet. The creature looked at Valira. You. It sounded genuinely frightened. You carry the Queen's blood. Valira froze. What did you say? The creature smiled. Now I understand. It looked at me, the human, then at Valira, the Queen. The two keys. I frowned. What keys? The creature laughed. You really don't know. Before I could respond, a massive shadow passed overhead. One of the ancient human ships descended. Its hull opened. A single figure stepped onto the courtyard. Human, female, tall, wearing black armor. Her helmet covered her face. She walked toward me. The devourer immediately stepped backward. No, the woman stopped, then removed her helmet. She looked about 30 years old. Her eyes were bright blue. She looked directly at me. Daniel Cross. I stared. Who are you? She smiled. Commander Elena Cross. I stopped breathing. You're dead. She laughed. Not exactly. Valira stepped closer. How? Elena looked at her. Because your definition of alive is primitive. Valira frowned. I don't like her. Elena smiled. I like you. Then Elena turned toward me. You activated the Astraeus. Yes. You opened the second key. Yes. And you brought the Queen with you. I looked at Valira. What does she have to do with this? Elena's expression became serious. Everything. She pointed toward Valira. Her bloodline descends from the original Varen alliance. Valira stared at her. What alliance? The alliance that helped humanity build the 12 weapons. I looked at the Queen. Your ancestors helped us? Elena nodded. Humanity could never have defeated the Devourers alone. Valira's expression changed. Our histories say the humans disappeared. They didn't. Elena looked toward the sky. We hid. A massive explosion shook the palace. The ancient human fleet was still fighting. But something had changed. The enemy fleet was retreating. I looked at Elena. Why are they running? She didn't answer immediately. Then she looked toward the stars. They're afraid. Of us? No. She looked at me. Of what's coming? I frowned. What could scare them? Elena activated a hologram. The galaxy appeared. Then something appeared beyond it. A massive black structure larger than a solar system. It was moving, slowly, toward us. My stomach dropped. What is that? Elena's expression was grim. The Devourer Corps. Valira looked at her. Their homeworld? Elena shook her head. Their mind. I stared at the hologram. The entire enemy fleet is controlled by that? Yes. Then destroy it. Elena shook her head. We tried. What happened? We failed. How? It cannot be destroyed from outside. I looked at her. So? She stepped closer. It has to be opened from inside. I laughed. No. Elena smiled. That's what I said. You're suggesting we board it? Yes. With what? She looked at me. You. I pointed at myself. Me? You are the only human currently authorized by the original command system. I fix engines. Elena smiled. That's why you're perfect. Valira stepped forward. He will not go alone. Elena looked at her. I wasn't asking him to. She activated another display. A route appeared. It led directly into the Devourer core. 2 authorization signatures appeared. Human Commander, Veyran Royal Bloodline. I stared at the screen. 2 keys. Elena nodded. Humanity and Vera. Valera looked at me. So we go together. I nodded. Looks like it. Then the Devourer standing across the courtyard suddenly laughed. We turned. It was smiling. You think you have won? Elena raised her weapon. The creature didn't attack. Instead, it looked at me. You still don't understand why your ancestors sealed the original humanity. I stepped forward. Then tell me. The creature's smile widened. Because the first humans discovered what lies beyond the galaxy. The courtyard became silent. What? The creature whispered. And they were terrified. Then it vanished. Elena looked toward the sky. He's right. I turned toward her. You knew? She nodded. Your ancestors didn't seal humanity away to protect the galaxy. Then why? Elena looked directly into my eyes. Because humanity discovered something worse than the Devourers. The ground began shaking again. Far beyond the stars, something enormous moved. Elena whispered. The Devourers were running from it. I felt my blood turn cold. Running from what? She looked toward the darkness. The thing that eats galaxies. Then every ancient human ship received a final transmission. Not from Elena. Not from the Devourers. From somewhere beyond the galaxy. A voice spoke. One word. Human. The entire fleet went silent. Valera grabbed my hand. I looked at her. She didn't let go. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I understood something. The war against the Devourers was never the real war. It was only the beginning. The word remained suspended in the air. Human. Nobody moved. Not the ancient fleet. Not the Veyran soldiers. Not even Elena Cross. For the first time since I had met her, she looked genuinely afraid. I turned toward her. You know that voice? She didn't answer. Elena, she finally looked at me. Yes. What is it? Her eyes moved toward the stars. The reason humanity disappeared. Valera stepped forward. You said the Devourers were running from something. They are. What? Elena hesitated. Then she said, us. I frowned. Humanity? No, she looked at me. The thing humanity became. That wasn't an answer. It was somehow worse. Before I could ask another question, the sky changed. The ancient human ships suddenly rotated. Every weapon turned away from the Devourer fleet. And toward the darkness beyond the galaxy. Valera stared upward. They're preparing to fire. Elena shook her head. No. What are they doing? Preparing to run. That surprised me. Run? Elena nodded. The old fleet has never run from anything. Then why now? Because they recognize the signal. The voice came again. Human. This time the word shook the entire planet. The Astraeus reacted. Its core began charging without anyone touching it. I ran toward the weapon. What is it doing? Elena followed, responding. To the voice? Yes. I reached the control panel. The system displayed a message. Origin signal detected. Then another authority, unknown. I stared at it. Unknown. Elena looked at the display. Her face went pale. That's impossible. What? The Astraeus recognizes every known command authority. So? It just detected something older. The machine suddenly projected a three-dimensional image. A human figure appeared. Not Elena, not Sarah, not anyone I recognized. An ancient human woman. She wore no armor, no uniform. She simply stood in darkness. Then she spoke. Daniel Cross. I stepped backward. How does everyone know my name? Valera almost laughed. Perhaps you are famous. That's not helping. The woman continued. You have awakened the weapons. Yes. You have opened the second gate. Yes. You have found the queen. I looked at Valera. The woman smiled. Good. Valera frowned. Who are you? The woman looked at her. I am the first. The hologram disappeared. The Astraeus went dark. Then the palace communication system activated. Admiral Hale's voice came through. Daniel, sir, whatever you're doing. He paused. Do it faster. I looked toward the sky. The ancient human fleet had begun retreating. Behind it, the Devourer fleet was doing the same, and beyond both fleets, something was approaching. Something enormous. The stars disappeared wherever it passed. Valira whispered, "The darkness is moving." Elena nodded. Yes. I looked at the Devourer core. Then we go inside. Valira looked at me. Now. Elena opened a portal. A tunnel of white light appeared. On the other side was the Devourer core. The artificial world was enormous. Its surface was covered in black towers. Thousands of ships moved around it, but none attacked us. We flew directly toward the center. Our small shuttle entered the core. Everything went silent. No weapons, no alarms, no resistance, just darkness. Then the doors opened. We stepped outside. The corridor looked almost human. That was the first thing that frightened me. Metal walls, artificial lighting, straight corridors. Even the maintenance panels looked familiar. I touched one. This is human, Elena nodded. It was built by us. Valira looked around. You built the Devourers. Not intentionally. Explain. Elena walked ahead. Humanity built the first artificial intelligence capable of managing an entire civilization. And it became the Devourers. No, she stopped. We became them. I stared at her. What? Humanity uploaded millions of minds into machines. The first Devourers weren't machines. They were people. I felt sick. Human people? Elena nodded. Soldiers. Scientists. Engineers. Families. She looked down the corridor. They volunteered to become immortal. Valira whispered. And then? They forgot what being human meant. We continued deeper. Eventually we reached a massive chamber. At its center was a sphere. Inside it were faces. Millions of them. Human faces. Alien faces. Every species the Devourers had ever encountered. I stepped closer. They're alive. Elena shook her head. Not exactly. The sphere spoke. Thousands of voices at once. We remember. I froze. One voice separated from the others. An old man's voice, Daniel Cross. I stepped forward. Who are you? I am the first Devourer. Valira raised her weapon. Elena stopped her. Wait, the voice continued. We did not return to destroy humanity. I frowned. Then why? The sphere changed. A galaxy appeared. Then another. Thousands of galaxies, all slowly disappearing. I stared. What is that? The voice answered. The hunger. A black shape appeared beyond the galaxies. It was impossible to describe. It wasn't a creature. It wasn't a machine. It was an absence, a hole in reality. The first Devourer spoke again. We were created to fight it. I understood. The Devourers aren't invading. Elena nodded. They're warning us. Valira looked at the sphere. Then why did you destroy thousands of civilizations? Silence. Then, because they became infected. I felt cold. Infected with what? The sphere showed images, alien civilizations, human civilizations, entire planets, and behind them, the same darkness. The first Devourer spoke. The hunger enters through thought. Valira stepped backward. What does that mean? It makes civilizations dream of power. The images changed. Wars, weapons, conquest, hatred, greed. Then it grows. I stared at the sphere. That's why humanity erased its memories. Yes. That's why the Devourers destroyed civilizations. Yes. That's why you were afraid of us. The sphere went silent. Then, no. I frowned. No. We were afraid of what humanity would do if the hunger reached you. Elena looked at me. I finally understood. The ancient humans hadn't been the weapon. They had been the containment system. And the 12 weapons weren't designed to conquer the galaxy. They were designed to protect the galaxy from humanity, If humanity became infected, I whispered. Then what was behind the second door? The sphere answered. The original human mind. My heart stopped. Original. The first human consciousness. Valera looked at me. Why would it be sealed? The sphere displayed one final image. A human woman standing before an army. Her eyes were completely black. Elena whispered. Because she heard the hunger. The image changed. The woman smiled. Then the screen went dark. A message appeared. Containment, failure. I stared at it. What's happening? The Devourer's voice became urgent. The hunger has found Earth. Valera grabbed my arm. Daniel, I looked at her. She was frightened. Not for herself. For humanity. I activated the Astraeus link. A human distress signal appeared. Admiral Hale. His voice was barely audible. Daniel. Static. Then, Earth is under attack. The signal cut. I stared at the darkness. Then the first Devourer spoke one final time. You have one choice. What's that? Save humanity. A pause. Or save the galaxy. I looked at Valera. She looked back at me. Neither of us spoke, because we both knew what the Devourer was asking, and there was only one answer I could give. I stepped toward the control sphere. Why choose? The chamber went silent. I smiled. We save both. Elena looked at me. Daniel. I activated the Astraeus. Humanity didn't survive thousands of years by choosing the easy option. The ancient weapons across the galaxy awakened, one after another. Valera raised her weapon. Elena smiled. And somewhere beyond the stars, the hunger finally noticed us, for the first time in millions of years. It spoke directly to humanity. Come. I looked toward the portal. Yeah, I tightened my grip on my tools. We're coming. And beside me, the Queen of Vera drew her weapon. Not behind me, not in front of me, beside me. Together, we stepped through the portal toward Earth, toward the hunger, toward the final war, and toward the truth our ancestors had been terrified to remember. Humanity had not been created to conquer the galaxy. Humanity had been created to protect it, and if protecting the galaxy required standing between it and something that ate entire realities, then humanity was going to do what humans had always done, build something impossible, fix what everyone else had given up on, and refuse to die. Earth was burning. From orbit it looked almost beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, golden sunlight, and surrounding it, millions of enemy ships. The hunger had arrived. I stood aboard the bridge of the ancient human flagship beside Queen Valera and Commander Elena Cross. Admiral Hale appeared on the main screen. Daniel, sir, we have 12 minutes. Until what? The planetary shield fails. I looked at the tactical display. Human ships were everywhere. Veran ships were fighting beside them. Even the Devourer fleet had joined the defense. 3 civilizations that had spent thousands of years fearing one another were now fighting on the same side, against something none of us completely understood. I looked at Elena. What's the plan? She smiled. You fix things. That's the plan. That's always been the plan. Valera laughed quietly. I looked toward Earth. Then I understood. The hunger wasn't attacking the planet. It was attacking the minds of the people on it. Every human ship began reporting strange signals. Fear, anger, paranoia. Soldiers began turning against each other. The hunger was inside their thoughts. I closed my eyes. How do we fight something that lives in our minds? The Devourer's voice came through the bridge. You don't. I opened my eyes. Then what do we do? The ancient intelligence answered. You remind humanity who it is. I looked at Valera. She understood before I did. The Astraeus. I nodded. Connect every human ship. Elena activated the ancient network. 12 weapons awakened across the galaxy. The Astraeus began transmitting, but it didn't send a weapon. It sent memories. Humanity's memories. Children laughing, families eating together, people building homes, scientists discovering new worlds, soldiers protecting strangers, humans helping aliens they had never met. Every act of kindness, every sacrifice, every moment when humanity had chosen hope instead of fear. The hunger screamed. The enemy fleet began collapsing. Its black structures cracked apart. The darkness surrounding Earth started disappearing. But the hunger wasn't finished. A massive black shape appeared above the planet. It was larger than Earth. Larger than the moon, larger than anything I could comprehend. Its voice entered my mind. "You are weak," I stood. "No," the voice laughed. "You fear death. Yes, you fight each other. Sometimes, you destroy." I looked at Vylera. She took my hand. Then I looked at Elena, then at Admiral Hale, then at the billions of people on Earth. "Yeah," I smiled. "But that's not all we do." The hunger screamed. The 12 ancient weapons fired, not at the creature, at humanity. Every human received the same message. Remember, and humanity remembered. Not the ancient wars, not the weapons, not conquest. The simple things. A father holding his daughter's hand. A mother staying awake beside a sick child. A stranger helping someone whose ship had crashed. A mechanic repairing an engine because someone needed to get home. The hunger began shrinking. I realized why. It couldn't feed on hope. It needed fear. And humanity had just given it something else. Choice. I stepped toward the main console. "Elena." "Yes?" "Can the Astraeus contain it?" She looked at the readings. "Not destroy it. Contain it? Maybe. Then let's repair the damn thing." She laughed. "That's my boy." I opened the control panel. The system was damaged. Several circuits were burned. The primary regulator was failing. I smiled. Vylera looked at me. "What?" "Nothing." "You are smiling." "Because this is familiar." She shook her head. "Of course." I grabbed my tools. The same tools I'd carried when I was just a mechanic aboard a cargo ship. The same tools that had repaired a broken fusion regulator. The same tools that had repaired the Astraeus. And now, the same tools that might save the galaxy. I replaced the regulator, adjusted the power flow, rerouted the damaged circuits. Then I saw the final problem. One connection was missing. The system required 2 command signatures, human and Veyran. I looked at Vylera. She stepped beside me. Together, we placed our hands on the console. The system activated. Human authorization confirmed. Veyran, royal authorization confirmed. Alliance protocol accepted. The 12 weapons synchronized. A massive field surrounded Earth. The hunger struck it. The planet shook. The field held. The creature struck again. The field held. Then Vylera whispered, "Daniel." "Yeah?" "Look." I looked at the stars. Thousands of ships had joined the network. Human. Veyran Devourer, then more. Dozens of alien civilizations, then hundreds. The galaxy was connecting itself. Not because anyone had ordered them to, because they had seen what happened when they fought alone. The hunger screamed, and the galaxy answered. Every fleet fired, not 12 weapons, not thousands, millions. The darkness shattered. The hunger disappeared. For several seconds, there was silence. Then sunlight touched Earth. The war was over. 3 months later, the galaxy was different. The Devourers were no longer hunted. The Veyrans were no longer isolated. Humanity was no longer hiding. The 12 ancient weapons were dismantled. Their technology was distributed among the allied civilizations. No single species would ever control them again. And the royal palace of Veyra had become something I never expected. A workshop. My workshop. I stood beneath the old Astraeus repairing a small transport engine. Vylera entered. She was wearing royal armor again. I looked up. Queen. Mechanic. How's the Empire? Annoying. Sounds healthy. She smiled. Then she placed something on the workbench. My old toolbox. I stared at it. Where did you get this? It was in your room. My room? Our room. I raised an eyebrow. That's new. Is it? She stepped closer. I smiled. So what happens now? She looked toward the stars. Humanity and Vera will rebuild. And the galaxy? We rebuild that too. I nodded. Sounds like a lot of work. She smiled. It is. Then she kissed me. This time I wasn't surprised. When she pulled away, she whispered, "You know, Daniel." "Yeah." "I still don't understand why humans insist on fixing everything." I looked at the stars. "Because somebody has to." She laughed. Then she took my hand. Together we walked toward the window. Beyond the glass, human and alien ships traveled side by side. The galaxy was no longer divided into enemies and empires. It was becoming something new, something better. And somewhere in the distance, the Astraeus remained silent. Its greatest weapon had never been its power. It had been the people who chose what that power was for. Humanity had once been created as a weapon. Then humanity had forgotten. And perhaps that had been the greatest thing that ever happened to us, because when the galaxy finally needed us, we didn't return as conquerors. We returned as humans. Humans who built. Humans who repaired. Humans who protected. Humans who loved. And when the Queen of Vera chose a human mechanic to stand beside her, the galaxy learned one final lesson. Never underestimate a species that can look at something broken and say, "Give me a toolbox." Years later, people would still tell the story of the human mechanic who repaired the Queen's most precious weapon. But Daniel Cross never considered himself a hero. He was simply a human who saw something broken and refused to leave it that way. Beside him stood Queen Vylera, the woman who had trusted him when the entire galaxy had not. Together they watched humanity and the alien worlds rebuild among the stars. And whenever someone asked how humanity had survived the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known, Daniel would simply smile and say, "We didn't survive because we were the strongest. We survived because when everything was broken, we chose to fix it."